All right, so I said I wasn't going to, but I made one more foamy. Reason is I redesigned the wing and I'm waiting on one more template to arrive from the gentleman that makes the templates for me. It's supposed to be here tomorrow, so I had about a week and a half of downtime, and I decided, hey, I'll throw together a 1.2 meter foamy in the same shape that this bag model is going to be. So this is the fourth Faomboard DLG I've made. The first one was a couple of years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago now. It was a 1 meter, and it folded after a few launches because I didn't put any spar in the wing. And the second one was that one. It's just a wall ornament now, but did well. There's videos of that back in my library there. The third one was, I guess it was last summer at this time, was a 1.5 meter one that was fun. It didn't have a rudder though, and it was sluggish. And now the fourth iteration here. It's not a lot to tell. I made it the same way as I've made that one and the other ones in the past. Unlike Mr. Boa there, again, I use 2 layers of foam board, but I use Walmart brand foam board on the bottom, which the paper does not come off of. And then the top layer is a de-papered layer of atoms, so just the bare foam, and then I shape the top layer, and then I use my thumb and whatnot to squish the leading edge into shape and then tape it. It works pretty well. It's heavy. This one's, and I meant for it to be actually, not quite this heavy, but it's 193 grams, and it balances where I want without lead. It's full house. I used 4 cheap servos in it the conventional way. That's a boom I made when I was learning how to make booms, and it wasn't quite stiff enough for like a bag model, but it was close enough to use on this guy. So that's a homemade boom drawn over a golf shaft as my mandrel. Of course, just some 3/32 balsa tails like I always do. Pull spring and I don't know, some bling, a little bit of capstone tape, some silver tape on the leading edge. As before, I use this strapping tape as a uni-spar, basically. Poor man's uni-spar, I guess. There is some carbon under that. It's not quite a full thickness shear web, but there's a carbon strip in that wing embedded as a shear web. Per tradition, a popsicle stick for throwing peg with some extra strapping tape as some reinforcement there. The trailing edges are double faced and packing tape, but they're still flimsy. Just because the flaperons in this are just one layer of bare foam shaped down to a point. So I tried to approximate basically an AG03, but it's an ugly AG03. It's not super great. The bottom, same strip of unicarbon. I bought a circle cutter, so that's fun. Got perfect circles out of Zaggy tape that I have already. So, yay. A little bit of decoration. The pod, I got lazy and didn't feel like making a pod, so I stole the pod off of that one. It never flew a whole lot, but it fit perfectly on this guy. It's the old shrunken water bottle method, but that's been sitting around for about 2 years now. But it went right back on this guy perfectly. It's kind of chunky. The bag model of this that I'm going to make is going to be much more streamlined. I didn't take a whole lot of care with this, to be honest with you. This one's cool though. The cone comes off and it has kind of like a little pod to it. It's a second water bottle that I shrunk back in the day and shaped up, and it's just taped on. And it works really well, and it's light. Just simple. There's 2 carbon flats sticking out that I just drove into the boom with a bunch of epoxy and wedged them in there. It's pretty good. I didn't want to put X06s on this, which I normally do, but I bought $4 or $5 servos from Buzzard Models, and they're digital. They seem to be fine. A basic Air 410 and my normal battery pack, just kind of cobbled to the front there. I did put a little plastic tube in the front, thinking I was going to need nose weight, so that would be a good place to shove some lead up in if it was needed, but it didn't need any nose weight, so it balanced at 63 millimeters, which is where I wanted it. right off the bench at 194 grams. But for 1.2 meter and just like taped up foam board wings, not too bad. So nothing to tell with the programming, all the normal stuff. The way I do it every time, unmixed, a little bit of snap flap, speed, cruise, thermal. You can see that the flaperons are woefully flimsy. I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of flutter with this, like we did with the last one, and that's fine. I don't plan to launch it full power, but it works. Everything works as it should, so we'll take this heavy baby out tomorrow morning and see what she can do. I expect it'll have to be like in thermal mode to float around like the last one was, which is fine because they're heavy and slow and not an accurate airfoil and etc, etc, etc. But yeah, I expect it'll be fun like the last one. But yeah, so foamy number 4. The model is called a Kestrel now, so this is a paper Kestrel, and this is the 4th foamy that I've made. Probably will fly this a few times and then retire it to a waiting place for until I can find a little slope with a little bit of wind. I think it'll do better being this heavy in that kind of situation. If I could find like a 20-foot berm somewhere with like a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind, I think this thing would actually do really well. I don't know how it's going to do trying to tip launch it, but we will find out. Anyway, you guys have a good night.